Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dan Wynn with the Intentional Entrepreneur Podcast, and I have a very special guest with me today. She is an NLP trainer, celebrity fitness coach, and speaker. She's got 39 alternative education certificates in mindset, leadership, and movement. And she helps coaches and healers get NLP certified to help to learn mental mastery tools for rapid client transformation so they can deliver better and faster results. And in her spare time, she does, or playtime, I should say, she enjoys camping, playing music, fire spinning, dancing, and being a lifelong learner. So I want to welcome to the show, Aubrie Pohl.
Yay, thanks, Dan. I'm so excited to be here today and grateful to be a part of this conversation.
My pleasure. You put yourself out as a celebrity fitness trainer, and I don't consider myself a celebrity, even though I've trained under you and you kicked my butt before. But thank you for
Yes,
thank you for thinking of me as a celebrity.
of course, definitely.
But it's nice to see how much you transformed. When I first met you, you were one of the trainers at Innovative Results down in Costa Mesa, and you knew all your stuff. And then we started doing yoga together as part of the program. But now you stepped into this kind of new world of NLP and self transformation. But before we kind of get into all that stuff and what you do for your clients, tell us a little bit about yourself and then your journey into what you're doing today.
Perfect. Yes. Thanks for the reminder about how possible growth is for everyone. And it's been quite the journey of learning what it means to be a leader for me. And I've spent half of my life now, and I'm almost 30, and spent half of my life in leadership positions, from jobs starting when I was, 16 and being a captain on the soccer team, to working managerial jobs and then assistant managers of gyms. And then now finally at this age of 29, I get to experience what it's like to create my own business, of having this experience coaching other people. And now I get to fulfill a role of coaching coaches as well. And really, NLP, when I started getting into neuro-linguistic programming 5 years ago, it was a pivotal catalyst towards embodying the leader that I knew I could be and I truly wanted to be. So I was heavily involved in athletics when I was younger. And I was a very academic rich person, which obviously that's where 39 certifications come from. I've always been involved in academics and athletics. And when I was younger, I had a lot of self-esteem issues and insecurities that held me back for their own reasons, but really no reason, right? It was just me holding myself back in my journey. And when I started to embark on the self-development and adventure into that land, was when I finally got to fix myself from within. Because for a few years, I was teaching leadership positions, like running classes, exercise classes, and still wasn't completely congruent with who I was, until about 5 years ago, when I learned neuro-linguistic programming on how to really reframe and resolve the inner conflicts in our model of the world, so that we can communicate in our mind and communicate out loud in methods of empowerment. And now I get to teach other people that through my NLP Academy, is how to really create profound empowerment in yourself and share it with other people, so that we can spread the messages of empowerment and conscious communication, because we are continually creating our world through our words that we choose. Yeah.
Right. For people who don't know what NLP or neuro linguistic programming is, can you share a little bit about what that is exactly?
Definitely. It's everything. And specifically
That is
everything.
true. That is true.
It's so true. Specifically everything. It's let's divide it up to three statements, right? Neuro is the brain, linguistic, language, and programming. So there's a certain programming of the language in our brain. There's a certain way that we are filtering our external reality into our internal reality, whether it's the identities that we're choosing to live with, right? I am this type of person or this type of person. And it's also the way that we are seeing our experience and remembering our memories and how we remember our memories. So it's a feed forward system on how to understand where you are coming from and where you want to move to. Also, it's a method of communication. It is a technique that we use in life coaching. So it's an extra tool in the tool belt for life coaches, for uh, individuals that work with other people, because you really learn how to interpret and understand someone else's model of the world. So, in personal aspects, it helps with self development, and in communication aspects, it helps with how you hold conversations and how to create deeper connections with people.
Yeah, the fantastic way to put it. I remember someone saying it on a kind of a self talk level is, you know, you know, imagine a barcode on a particular product that's inside your brain, and you know, if you switch one of the bars, then it's totally something that's completely, you know, something different, right? And so, I was told like that's how the NLP is like within yourself is like you're just switching out one of the bars, and that can have profound change within the way you talk with yourself.
Yeah, great
Mm.
metaphor,
All right.
because if you scan that barcode when it's slightly different, it's a completely different barcode. If you switch
Mm,
one way of how you structure your sentence about a situation, your whole world changes. Like, to give an example, if somebody says, I am depressed, they are attaching an identity to the word depressed. I am
mm,
depressed. Yet,
mm,
how different of a world can it be if somebody says, I experience depressing moments? So it goes from an identity
mm,
to this emotional center, which emotions come and go, and it gives permission for change to say that I sometimes experience depressing moments rather than honing in on this identity word that they carry around with them all the time. And so just by observing how we talk about our situations, they can be viewed entirely differently. The barcode changes.
yeah, yeah. I think NLP is almost the next level of of where the person who at least recognizes, hey, the way I talk about myself creates the identity that I don't want,
Hmm.
and then NLP allows them to make that inner transformation to who they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't let yourself off the hook anymore because you're just so
Yeah.
aware of what's
Yeah.
happening internally.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, you know, so we've been talking about how self-talk and using NLP can affect how you think about yourself and how you talk about yourself and how you feel about yourself. Let's talk a little bit about how coaches and practitioners can use NLP to enact change or transformation or empowerment with their students and their clients.
Yes. I love that because that's definitely the foundation is definitely like rewiring your nervous system. And then when we
Mm,
utilize NLP, there's pre-frames and presuppositions. So there's ideas and concepts behind the technology of NLP that really show us how we can communicate towards other people. For instance, one of the presuppositions of NLP is that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have available. And everyone has all the resources they need to achieve their specific and desired outcomes. So, as a leader, when you talk to people, you essentially already believe in the greatness within them because everyone has the ability to achieve their goals. So, as a coach, when you are a practitioner of NLP, you embody this I call it like an inner cheerleader. You become this inner cheerleader for all of your clients and your students because you know that they have the capability to achieve their goal, which is really important because if you're a coach and you don't believe in your client, they perceive that. Perception is projection. Yet if you
Mm-hmm.
perceive and know that the greatness is in them, you'll share that with them. So that's definitely the view that you come from as a coach. And then what NLP gives us are these tools of asking questions. And this is important because it is different than giving advice. You can give advice all you want. Sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other.
Mm-hmm.
However, by asking very intentional questions to people, they will answer the question and they will answer the question from their model of the world. So we use NLP to ask specific questions that help lead people towards their goals. If I were to give an example, it would be, how do you know that you are already taking steps towards your goal? That is different than asking a client, have you achieved your goal yet? Which could be yes or no, right? And if a client is prone to
Mm-hmm.
negativity, they might say no. However, an NLP question, quote unquote, would be, how do you know you already are taking steps towards your goal? Which presupposes that they are in motion towards their goal. And the client's mind will move towards that same belief that they've already taken the action steps and can now start to say what action steps they're taking. So they're already building towards their goal with the belief that it is happening, because it is. And so it's all the techniques of how to
Yeah.
use clever questions.
Right. Right. I think it's Tony Robbins says, "Ask better questions and you'll get better answers."
Yeah. Oh, I love
Right.
that for sure.
And so I know you work with a lot of self-employed coaches and practitioners, and they are entrepreneurs themselves. And of course, this show is the intentional entrepreneur. But you focus a little bit on kind of heart-centered entrepreneurs. Can you share a little bit about kind of who they really are and how they putting themselves out in the world to attract clients?
Yeah. I believe it really relates to this word intentional that you've chosen intentionally for your podcast, because it's the belief that we're not in entrepreneurship as like this self-serving business. It's a selfless serving business. So we're here to help others see the change that's possible within them. And I believe that's where the heart-centeredness comes from. If we're to put like a label on it, it's coaches that are fully in the passion of their coaching because it's the change they want to see in the world. And so that's the fundamental reasons for why they're doing what they're doing, is because of that selfless service, to be a part of the shift of consciousness and to continue moving towards the peace that we want to see in the world. And these could be people that recognize themselves as healers. I work with a lot of life coaches and healers, meaning like energy coaches and massage therapists, even in the health and wellness industry, but not limited to that, right? But it really has to do with the
Mm-hmm.
healthiness of mind and mindfulness and self-development. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where a lot of the heart-centeredness comes from. It's not so much about get more sales, get more money. That's a very helpful tool, and it's there. It's totally there because you come from a place of giving the energy exchange of the value of growth and transformation. So of course you're going to get the value of money and monetary system in return to that.
Right. And would you say kind of really money is just the byproduct of of their heart-centered entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, it's the continuation of that
Right.
energy
That's
exchange, because that's the way the world works right
right.
now, and it's a
Right.
beautiful part of the system
Right.
because it keeps going.
Right.
You get to keep doing what you're doing when you get paid. It's great.
Right. Um, so for those of you who don't know, NLP is kind of intricately tied to leadership, right? Because how leaders talk to their team, right? Um, but how sometimes leaders are kind of just thrust into those positions, and they're not they're not taught to be a leader, right? I think there's a saying like leaders are made or not born, or I don't I think leaders there's sometimes there's natural born leaders, and there's sometimes where people have to learn how to be a great leader. And I think part of being a great leader is being authentic. And can you share a little bit about how a person leading or an organization can bring out authenticity such that it will basically get their team to do what they want them to do?
Yeah. It just reminds me of this one study that was done for individuals at a hospice center, right? And the number one regret of the dying was, I wish that I lived a life more true to myself than what
Mm,
others expected of me. And that was the number one. So let's listen to
wow.
these people that went through an entire
Right.
life and then said, this is my biggest lesson, is to pretty much be authentic. And I believe when you truly are authentic in your leadership, you give people permission to do the same, so
Mm,
they feel even more embodied in themselves too. And that creates more momentum for the team and for the vision, because as a leader, you do want to recruit people for your vision, and you don't want to create followers. Like, leaders don't create
mm,
followers that just copy and mimic what they do. I believe that true leaders create leaders. And to do that, that's you coming from an authentic space and reminding them that they get to do the same thing. But what you do is you team up with that shared vision. So the vision is the same. That's why everyone's in and
mhm,
will do what you want them to do as being the leader. And you're giving them permission to be completely themselves, which will only help flow with their belief in the mission, because they're feeling truly
mhm.
authentic in who they are, which I think will help.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. Hey, I'm here with Aubrie Pohl, NLP trainer, and we're talking about leadership and how to create authentic leadership for your organization. So I don't know if you do this with your trainings, but I remember when I went through the training on leadership, and we were split up into groups, and then we saw a piece of construction paper, and maybe in the corner had a paper clip, and then maybe in the middle had a circle, and that was hidden on the other side of the room. And then we had maybe a group of five or six, right? And so you had to have one person go, not one, about one or two people go to the other side of the room, kind of try to remember what was on that paper, and then relay it back to the rest of the team. Have you done this before?
No.
Okay. Okay. So it was a leadership training exercise. So, basically you had to some team members had to memorize what was on that construction paper, and then kind of go back to the remaining group and kind of try to go from memorization so that you can get as close to the original as it was. But what kind of stood out to me was that it was kind of all two or three people kind of just vying for the leadership position, right? This is actually more about group dynamics, storming, forming, norming, right? But it was like who was part of, I think, was coming out of like who was going to become the leader out of this particular organization. And there was one particular person who was kind of like, no, this is got to be it. And he was very loud and very, not, I won't say obnoxious, but kind of it was more authoritarian style of leadership. And it was kind of an interesting observation about how, how people work, and how leaders are created and how leaders develop their skills. But it felt so, not so much manufactured, but kind of forced, right? Because the person spoke the loudest or was most hand movements or whatever. But how does someone really kind of break through, break into the next tier of authentic leadership, where it's just more less about just because you've got the position that you are the best salesperson, so it's natural for you to just to move up to the managerial position, but more about this is the best person for a leadership position because they're authentic, or they have the best people skills, or they can lead a team.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is about how you connect with other people
Mhm.
and how you get to experience that connection with other people and how they feel after connecting with you. You know, there is a time and place for authoritative leadership, and
Mhm.
there's definitely not a time and place for that kind of leadership,
Yeah.
or where it shouldn't
Yeah.
be. And as a leader, being an authentic leader, you get to be authentic and flexible in your approach, because people require different types of leading. Some people enjoy
Mhm.
an empathetic leader. You know, when I say heart centered, it's, I come from the freaking fitness world, and I was trained by, you know, Navy instructors, and there's that side of me that comes from authoritative leadership, and I appreciate that for sure, because sometimes,
Mhm.
you know, suck it up buttercup, do it,
Mhm.
needs to be said. And then sometimes an empathetic leader is what people need as well. So it comes from, when you're on this journey of leadership, you want to find the identity of who you are as a leadership,
Mhm.
but that's still not going to focus on who you're leading. So you
Mhm.
almost get to step into the eyes of who you're leading. You step into the eyes of your ideal client, right? And you ask, instead of saying, what do I want to say as a leader? It's not about you. It's, what do they want to hear? And
Mhm.
that's when you become the flexible leader, because you're you're making the intentional connection towards, what do your listeners want to hear? What do your clients want to hear? And you get to shape yourself so that you become a more relatable individual, because that's going to create more success for you as a leader, because you're not only saying, here I am, I'm a leader, but you're truly making the effort to connect to them. And that's what really creates the outliers in leadership, are the ones that do the work to continue to connect, to make the effort, to dig the wells of communication with who they're relating to.
Right. That's fantastic. I think um, there's it's more of a sales, but I think it applies into kind of every facet of life. Is that people are secretly begging to be led, right? And the more people who have leadership skills, leadership abilities, I think can provide for a better world, right? And people would be more cognizant of their surroundings and enter everyone else's model of the world.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I agree with
Okay,
that.
awesome. Hey, again, we're here with Aubrie Pohl, NLP trainer, and we're kind of winding down here, so we're going to get into the rapid fire questions. So you just answer the first thing that pops in your head, and we'll go. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So who do you look up to?
I look up to previous coaches and mentors of mine, 100%. It's funny because you know two of them, Aaron
Yeah,
and Matt.
I
So
do
I
know.
think that I look for previous coaches and mentors that really embody the leadership that I'm working towards and are examples of the education that I'm learning.
All right. What's the best business advice you've ever received?
Messy action is 100% more action than inaction. Do
Very
it.
good. I love it. That one's really good. Um, what's the best business book you've ever read?
Business and life book, nonviolent communication. You
Hmm.
can't do
No,
business without knowing communication. So Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication all the way.
okay. Okay. Um, if you could do one thing over again, what would it be?
Love myself sooner. Yeah, fully. Mhm.
All right. And then lastly, what's the biggest challenge in your business today?
Honestly, the states of aloneness that comes with building a business that I get to do myself, which is a beautiful journey. And I'm so honored to be a part of this. And I am doing it myself because it's my business. So that's when you find your states of aloneness and you keep going because the support and the fruits of the labor and the community that I get to speak to from creating something out of nothing is greater than any moments of feeling lonely.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
If we want to learn more about you, your events, where can we find you?
Awesome. So I am the owner and the host of the Life Through Leadership NLP Academy. So you can go to lifethroughleadershipnlp.com. My name is Aubrie Pohl at It's Aubrie on Instagram, which is a lot of my content. ITSAUBRIEEE is my Instagram handle, and I'm posting stuff on there all the time.
All right, we'll put those on the show notes as well so people can find you. Hey, again, Aubrey, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom with us. I think it'll be so valuable for our listeners. And hopefully, we'll get a chance to chat soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity of this conversation. It's been a blast.
My pleasure.